again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. Hello! Hope all of you are doing really well today. I'm doing fabulous, thank you very much, because it is that time of the week where I get to show you a new project, and today is no exception. Today I'm going to show you how to make a double filet shawl. It's super duper easy, it's very quick, and I think you guys are going to like this. And actually, the other week I did a tutorial on how to utilize the stitch back and forth in rows to make like a blanket or a scarf or a wrap, etc., etc. And then through some fiddling and finagling and tweaking and so forth, I figured out how to create a top-down shawl, and I really like it. And best of all, it is a very simple pattern. It is just a 2-row repeat once you get the machinations of it going. And it was my friend Tara that suggested that I write up the pattern. So I did, yes. And so if you're interested, in the description box down below, there is a link to the pattern where you can find it for purchase if you would like to have a copy of your very own, and if you would like to help support the channel, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you ever so much. And so for this particular project, I used Lion Brand's Mandala in the colorway of Centaur, one of my favorites indeed. And for those of you that are not familiar, by the way, this is not sponsored, for this video, by the way. I just like to let you know what it is that I use in case if you want to duplicate the results. So it is a weight of 3, and it's about 590 yards. Now, I used, for this particular shawl, I used a size I 5.5 millimeter crochet hook because I wanted the shawl to have a nice drapiness about it. And I used just about the entire skein, and I would say that it makes up for a good sized neck scarf or shawlette or a small shawl. If you want it bigger, I would suggest you use more than one cake of the yarn, but it has a nice size to it. So I'm just giving you a ballpark figure as to how big you can go. That being said, I'm going to use the same size hook and some more mandala that I had. It was a bit of scrap that I had. So that being said, without further ado, let's get started. Alrighty. Okay, row 1. Like I said, yes, it is a 2-row repeat, but we have to get it started first. So for row 1, going to start off with our obligatory slip knot as per usual. There we are. And let me just scooch a little extra yarn here. There we go. And going to begin by chaining up 4. Now, technically, you could do a chain 4 and then do a slip stitch to the first chain to create a ring and then work your stitches within that ring. However, I think that this creates a cleaner edge. So after chaining 4, we're going to go actually into that first chain with a double crochet. And we're going to use that first chain as if it were a magic ring. So technically we have 2 double crochets right out of the gate. Then chain 2 and 2 more double crochets into that same chain stitch. There we go. Chain 2 and 2 more double crochets into that same chain stitch. And there you go. And you can, of course, tighten up your initial strand there. And there you go. So it's a total of 6 double crochets separated by chain 2 spaces, and they're worked in pairs. And there you go. That's row 1. Okay, row 2. And actually, row 2 and all of the even numbered rows are the same, and they're very, very, very easy. So start off by chaining up 1, turn the work, and then into the first 2 stitches, the double crochets, single crochet into each. So single and single, and then chain 2 going across the chain 2 space, then into the next 2 stitches, those double crochets, single into each, chain 2, scooting over that chain space, and then going to do a single crochet into the next 2 doubles. So single into this double, and single into the last stitch. It's a little bit fiddly, but it is worth doing right. And there we go, underneath both loops of the V there, and single crochet. And there you go. And so that is row 2. Okay, so row 3 is where things start to get a little bit interesting because we're going to be doing increasing at the beginning, end, and the very middle of each row, and that only applies to the odd numbered rows. So to do that, start by chaining up 3, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. Turn the work, and then into that first stitch right there, double crochet, so technically we have 2 double crochets here, then chain 2, double crochet into that same stitch, and then double crochet into that next stitch, that second single crochet stitch. So we've got 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and then chain 2, skipping over this chain 2 space area here. And we're going to work into the first single crochet with 2 doubles, chain 2, 1 double. So 2 doubles, chain 2, and 1 double. There you go. Now, this right here is the center spine of our piece. So we have to do basically the opposite of what we just did into that second single crochet stitch. So instead of doing 2, chain 2, 1, we're going to do 1, chain 2, 2. I know it sounds weird, but trust the process, you know. So into that second single crochet, do a double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets into that same stitch. There we go. So we've got 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles. All worked within those 2 single crochets there. And don't worry, we will be doing a repeat. So from here, chain 2, skipping over this chain 2 space, doing a double crochet into that first of the single crochets, excuse me. So double into that first single, and then into the second single, double, chain 2, and 2 doubles. And there you go. So we have 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, chain 2, and so on and so forth until the end of the row. So we have increasing going on, like I said, at the beginning, middle, and end. Now, what might help is actually to place a marker, like maybe around here or so, in between these stitches here, so that you have a reminder that this is the center spine. It's easy to miss when you get lost in the groove, so I suggest, that might be a good idea. So that being said, let's go on to row 4. Okay, so row 4, it's very much like row 2. We're just going to be doing single crochets and chain 2 spaces. Very simple. So start off by chaining up 1, turning the work, and single crochet into these first 2 doubles. That's 1 and 2. Chain 2, chain 2, thank you, and then single crochet into the next 2 doubles. So we're not doing any increasing on the even numbered rows. We're just adding single crochets on top of the doubles and doing chain spaces in between, but we're not actually increasing any stitches. So chain 2, single into each of the next 2 doubles, chain 2, single into the next 2 doubles, chain 2, single in the next 2 doubles, chain 2, single into the next 2 doubles, chain 2, and single into the last 2 doubles. And it's the last one that is always a little bit persnickety, but a little bit of patience, a little bit of persistence, it pays off, and there you go. So that is row 4. And, it's small beginnings, but like I said, this works up fast because once you get into the groove, it works up really, really quickly. So now we're going to do a full repeat, which will be rows 5 and 6, and you just keep doing that over and over and over again until your piece is the desired size. So let's get to it. Okay, so row 5 for the repeat. Start off by chaining up 3. 1, 2, and 3. And I do find that when you are doing up your initial chaining of 3, if you make that last one just a little bit loose, it makes it a lot easier to get into on the following row. Something I struggle with, but it's a tip for the day. So after doing your chaining up of 3, into that first single, do a double, chain 2, and a double into that same stitch. Because as I've said before, that initial chaining up of 3 counts as a double. So we've got 2 doubles, a chain 2, a double, and then into that next single crochet, another double. There we go. Then chain 2, double into each of the next 2 singles. Chain 2, double into each of the next 2 singles. Okay, chain 2. And it is at this point that this is the center spine. These 2 single crochets at the top here. Okay, so that being said, into the first single crochet, 2 doubles, chain 2, 1 double, there we go, and then into the second single crochet, 1 double, chain 2, 2 doubles. And that way, the number of stitches remains consistent with our pairs and our chain 2 spaces. All right, so then from here, quite simply, chain 2, double into each of the next 2 singles, and I need to pull out just a little squidge of yarn here. There we go. Chain 2, double into each of the next 2 singles, chain 2. Okay, then into that first double, sorry, the first single. I keep messing up my words, my verbiage, I'm sorry. So into that first single, do a double, thank you. There we are. And then into the second single, work a double, chain 2, and 2 more doubles. And there you are. So that is row 5 for the repeat, and then we will do one more final row 6. Okay, so row 6 for the repeat, just like we have been doing, like all of the other even numbered rows. Start off by chaining up 1, turn the work, single crochet into the first 2 doubles, chain 2, single into the next 2 doubles, and so on and so forth across the rest of the row, because there's no increasing, it's just chain 2, single, single, chain 2, single, and 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 single, chain 2, oops, single, and single, chain 2, single, single, there we go, just a little bit more yarn, just a little, there we go. Okay, we're getting there, we're almost there. Chain 2, single, and single, chain 2, single, and last but not least, single into that last double crochet right at the very edge, and there you go. Now, for me personally, I would suggest ending on after doing an even numbered row, because that way you get the same thickness of the chains in between, just like you had in the previous rows. So it has a more uniform look. So I would suggest, yes, ending after doing an even numbered row as opposed to an odd numbered row. But yeah, you can just keep going on and on and on and on until your piece is the desired size. Now, as far as colors are concerned, I would say go crazy. This is a very simplistic sort of pattern. It's not terribly complex with a lot of shells and, embellishments and things. It's basic, but it has sort of a quiet elegance about it. I really do like it. And so as far as colors go, an ombre would look lovely. The colorway that we have here with the Lion Brand Mandala, or perhaps something even a little bit more busy where it is a quicker change variegated. I think even that would look perhaps quite nice, or something with a quicker stripe to it. Really whatever it is that you like. As always, if you are going to use this pattern as a stash buster, the only thing that I strongly suggest, and I'm never going to back down on this one, is make sure that all of your yarn is the same weight. If you're starting with a 3, continue with a 3, etc., etc. And of course, also make sure that all of your yarn is the same fiber content. If you start with acrylic, finish with acrylic. Otherwise, it may get a little bit funky, when you're trying to wash and dry and so forth. So I'm going to put my foot down on that. But otherwise, I would say go crazy, have fun, and there you are. Alrighty, my dears. So that's going to conclude today's tutorial on how to make the double filet shawl. Really hope that you liked it, and if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below because you know that I appreciate your appreciation as always. And I want to thank you for joining me today. And also, like I said, in the description box, as well as the timestamps, of course, in the description box down below is a link where you can find a copy of this pattern if you're interested. And as always, much, much appreciated. Thank you in advance. And you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody. Have a great day.